Good evening, everyone. This is VK3EKH, VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria with a regular Friday night broadcast. Coming to you from the studios of VK3CSJ in Narre Warren South. We're broadcasting on the prime frequency of 3541 kilohertz in the 80 metre amateur radio band, and also via the Melbourne television repeater VK3RTV digital channel 1 full HD, and also on Discord. You can find the Discord channel if you register with Discord and then go to myqrz.com page VK3EKH and look for the link that'll take you to this HD stream and the chat window associated with it. And we're also on the dodgy YouTube. You can find my YouTube channel on VK3CSJ, and hopefully the YouTube stream will hang in there tonight and not muck me around like it has in previous weeks, but I'm pretty sure it'll probably fall over in the 45 minutes that I hope to be here. It's a short broadcast tonight. We have an early start tomorrow morning at work. I'm being called into work again tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock start. So it means an early night, and of course early nights for me don't really exist, but I figure 6 o'clock I better do the right thing by myself. So I'll make it a short broadcast tonight and try and fill in a 40 to 45 minute packed news source thing, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, just making sure my audio levels are okay. I don't want to overload YouTube. It seems that my audio feed on YouTube's been distorted too much lately. Hala 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Okay, that's just a little bit more level, but I'm not into the red on vMix according to vMix, so that's the main thing. And the level on 80 meters seems not too bad. It'll have to do, yes. All right, good evening, everyone. On this 18th of October, I'm going to take my headphones off because it's bad enough that I have to listen to myself talk and then force myself listening to myself through headphones. So that will do. Okay. Right, I've got a swag of little things to mention tonight, and let's see if we can get it all over and done with within 40 to 45 minutes, making spaceweather.com the last thing that we do tonight as normal. Tamitha Scove has not put out any report thus far, so there won't be any solo report from Tamitha, although there will probably be a something she'll probably release in the next few hours anyway. In which case I'll broadcast that on the Sunday morning news with the WIA. Meanwhile, let's get back to this. For those who are tuning in for the first time, this is the official broadcast, the ASV broadcast, the Astronomical Society of Victoria, which has been running since 1988, and the ASV is a non-for-profit society for people interested in astronomy, and it's attracting people and catering for people from a wide range of ages and backgrounds, abilities and interests. First formed in 1922, the society has grown to over 1,000 members. I think it's around 1,600 odd members now. Its activities are coordinated by a council of elected office bearers and various section directors and ordinary councillors. The ASV has weekly activities at 2 metropolitan locations, a place called the Morley Community Village, and of course the Melbourne Observatory. And we host monthly Astro Talks at the Herbarium near the Melbourne Observatory. The Society's library is also located at the Melbourne Observatory. It's a beautiful library to explore. Yeah, like I've said before, as you walk through the door, in fact, you can smell the smell of aging books as you come up to the entrance to the library. If you're like me, when you buy a brand new book, the first thing you do is you bury your nose in the middle of the book and give it a big whiff. Nothing like the smell of a brand new book. Anyway, so yes, the library is at the Melbourne Observatory and is open during Astro Talks. And for over 50 years, the ASV, in fact, has played a major role in the care of the buildings at the Melbourne Observatory and the facilities around it. There are various members of the ASV that conduct what we call astronomy for the people, gatherings throughout the year, bringing telescopes and astronomy to Melbourne's parks and schools. And if you check the calendar out on the ASV webpage for details in that area, you might be able to pop in on one of these gatherings. The ASV is currently involved in a number of major projects, and one of those is restoration of the Great Melbourne Telescope, and also currently working on the installation of a series of remote telescopes, which are pretty much online now, all up and running. And members can access these remote telescopes once you've listed up on a schedule list. Thanks to a generous donation from a long-standing member and respected members, the Leon Mao Dark Sky site, located just north of Melbourne, north of Heathcote, has a pristine night sky for deep sky observing. The ASV has a 25-inch telescope, a 40-inch telescope, and a wheelchair-accessible 16-inch telescope at the Dark Sky site. And that makes use of the existing telescopes at the Melbourne, and also makes use of the existing telescopes at the Melbourne Observatory during section meetings and members' nights held once a month at the observatory. There's also an annual yearbook which is published by the ASV, and I can't see one right in front of me right now. Usually I do read from it, but it doesn't seem to be here at the moment. But the yearbook it's kind of like an almanac of sorts for astronomers, providing a swag of information for astronomers throughout the coming year. There's also a bi-monthly newsletter called Crux, and I don't even have a copy here, or do I? No. Oh, here we go. So yes, for those watching TV, that's the Crux on the screen there. That's what it looks like. Nice, highly polished, high quality newsletter. Used to be called a newsletter. It's now called the magazine. Very well written, done, edited, and all that. Which members, of course, can contribute to. The ASV's logo, which I'll show you again on the screen. In fact, for those watching TV, they can actually see it up there on the screen. Am I pointing in the right direction? No, I've got to go like this. So it's right up there. There it is. A little bit further. That little thing it's rotating there, that logo you see. Anyway, you can see it there. And of course, it's also on our Crux magazine. You can see just there. That one. Yes. So it's in Latin, and I can't pronounce the Latin. I don't even know why they bother. But it's a motto that's in Latin, which is, once it's translated, is "This way to the stars." My God, it's full of stars. It's 2002 Space Odyssey thing, if you didn't know what that was from. So anyway, "This way to the stars," and yeah, so it's been like that for a long time. The ASV is governed by a set of rules which should be read before applying for membership, and apparently the document for the rules is downloadable from the website. Any person or organisation with an interest in astronomy may apply for membership of the Society. There's been a swag of presidencies, starting from 1922 and right up to current president is Mark Ascario. G'day, Mark, if you're listening. Mark's been the current president for ASV now for a couple of years or so, moving the society forward, as they say, moving forward. And so all that information can be found on the ASV's homepage or website at www.asv.org.au. All right. Now, we're very pleasant good evening to Richard, VK3VRS, Steve, VK3SBX, and g'day Brett, VK2CBD, who's watching on the Discord. And who is on the chat room? I wonder, can I look at the chat room? We have Steve, VK3SBX on the chat room, and also Richard. What's happened to the chat room lately? It used to be quite full of folks that would call in. It's been very quiet on the chat room lately. Anyway, that's fine. We also have an email address. If you wish to send us a signal report tonight, vk3ekh@gmail.com. vk3ekh@gmail.com, which I shall just quickly check while it's there. G'day Steve, yes, you're giving me a signal report of 25 to 30 over 9. Discord is good. YouTube is good for now anyway. Excellent stuff. See how good that all is? Now, there's a bunch of dates that I haven't gone through yet from the Sky Notes from the beginning of the month. I've just somehow ignored the last few dates, so I'll get those out of the way since they're in front of me here. And because today is the 18th of January, I'm going to kick off from the 18th of January, 1967. On this day, in 1967, Voronezh 4 USSR is the first probe to analyse the atmosphere of another planet when it does so at Venus. On the 19th of October 1910, I did say October before. I know it was just the 18th of this month. Anyway, on the 19th of October 1910, and here's a name I can't pronounce, so why did I pick this date? Anyway, on the 19th, I'll give it a go. It looks like an Indian, maybe not. On the 19th of October 1910, birth of Subharamanian Chandrasekhar, who had major insights into stellar evolution of black holes, or stellar evolution and black holes is what it says here. Subharamanian Chandrasekhar. I won't bother spelling it out. You have to take my word for it. Anyway, so he had apparently major insights into stellar evolution. That was 1910. Then, on the 24th of October 1998, Deep Space One probe was launched to innovate technologies, including an ion engine, while visiting asteroid Borrelly and comet Borrelly, 1998. On the 27th of October 1994, first substellar object orbiting a star is found, a brown dwarf at Gliese 229. And on the 29th of October 1991, the Galileo probe is the first to visit an asteroid Gaspra 951 on its way to Jupiter. And lastly, on the 31st of October in the year 2000, Expedition 1, first resident crew of the International Space Station, arrived by a Russian Soyuz craft for a 136-day stay lasting until March 2001. The 3-person crew, 1 American and 2 Russians, made the station fully operational and hosted 3 visiting US space shuttles and received 2 Russian Progress supply vehicles. Those were the days for the space shuttle and the beginning of the International Space Station. Yes, you're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night broadcast. Just have a quick look at the all-sky camera up at Heathcote, just for those that are interested. And not much viewing up there tonight, I'm afraid. It's as you can well imagine, with the bad weather that we've been having here in Victoria the last 24 hours or so. It's all overcast and not much good for any night sky viewing at our dark sky site, which is a bit sad. Anyway, there are good nights coming. All right, now this next one is something that, well, I think we've all seen this week with great awe. SpaceX has really done something magnificent, and I think we're all in awe of the way the first stage of their rocket separated and the way it landed. It is mind-blowing the way this technology is working. So I've got some video of this which I'll run while I read out an article on it. So let me just fire this up. Now this video, there's no sound, well there is sound, but I've muted the sound. So it's just the visual side of it. And like I say, there's some really stunning images here. I think apart from the fact that this lower stage of this rocket was it slowed down to be carefully handled by a tower, by the launch tower, by 2 robotic arms that came out and grabbed it and steadied it. And the way it all worked like clockwork, it was just stunning to see. And they actually do have cameras set up at various angles on this episode, and I don't think this footage is exactly in here in this video, but there is one footage where you actually have a camera mounted on top of this tower, and it's looking up, seeing the rocket actually coming down through a little puff of cloud, where it ignites the cloud in light, and literally the bottom end of this rocket is coming straight towards you, towards the tower, and then the camera comes down and follows it as it goes through the arms on this top part of the tower, right in front of you, and it's just magnificent. This high resolution video footage of all this event. So Elon Musk is he's a funny bloke. I'm not really. It's not as if I'd vote for him, but he's definitely doing some good guns. Is that the right word? Anyway, expression. Anyway, let me just fire up this video, and you can watch it. Again, I'm on YouTube. As far as I know, the YouTube channel is still happening, VK3CSJ on YouTube. It's a 20-second delay to what you're hearing here. But if you're watching Discord, it'll only be less than a second delay or thereabouts. And so I really recommend getting onto Discord. Again, you can register on Discord. Fairly straightforward if you haven't done it before. And once that's gone through and all above board, go to my qrz.com page for VK3EKH, qrz.com, and VK3EKH, and in the text I provide a link which, if you click on that, will take you, once you've registered on Discord, it'll take you to this HD channel and the chat room, and you'll see all that. Anyway, working out. Discord's not exactly user friendly, but it you can get there. All right. So, and of course, RTV, VK3 RTV, ATV, VK3 RTV. Oh, good grief. Yes. All right. I'm already running out of time here. I'm waffling. Video. Where's this video? There it is. Okay. Let's go with it. And is it running? Is it running? Is it running? Is it running? Should be running. Yeah, it's running. I think it's running. Oh, yeah. No, there we are. Yeah. All right. So just ignore all that. Here we go for the text. SpaceX catches giant Starship booster with chopsticks on a historic Flight 5 rocket launch and landing video. The most powerful rocket ever built took to the skies again, but this time it came back. And I think we're waiting for it to launch in this video. Yeah, no, that's moving. In that shot there, it looks static. No, it's live. It's all right. Good. Yep. All right. We are playing. Okay. Okay. The biggest and the most powerful rocket ever built took to the skies again, and this time it came back. SpaceX launched its 400-foot tall, 122 meters Starship vehicle for the fifth time ever today on the 13th of October, sending the giant rocket aloft from its Starbase site in South Texas at 8:25 a.m. their time. The mission aimed to break new ground for Starship and for spaceflight in general. SpaceX planned to return Starship's huge first-stage booster, known as a Super Heavy, directly to its launch mount, catching it with what they refer as chopstick arms of the launch tower to tower in a bold and unprecedented maneuver. And that's exactly what happened. About 7 minutes after liftoff, SpaceX's Super Heavy executed what appeared to be a bullseye landing, hovering near the Maxilla Tower, launch tower, at the and captured it with its metal arms, which you'll see in a short while on the video here. This is a day for the engineering history books. Kate Tice, SpaceX Manager of Quality Systems Engineering, said during a live commentary at SpaceX. Employees screamed and cheered at the company's Hawthorne, California headquarters behind her. This is absolutely insane. One of the first ever attempts we have successfully caught the Super Heavy booster back at the launch tower. And then it goes on saying, "Are you kidding me?" SpaceX spokesperson Dan Hewitt added from the launch site. Even in this day and age, what we just saw looked like magic. And I must admit, a lot of crap on Facebook. There's a lot of idiots on Facebook, honestly. They all thought it was fake video, artificial intelligence video, and it's not real. They just don't believe it. They just have no idea, some of these people. Anyway, the booster catch was not the only goal for Flight 5. SpaceX also aimed to send Starship's 165-foot tall upper stage, known as Starship, or simply Ship, to space and bring it back to Earth with a splashdown in the Indian Ocean. That occurred about 65 minutes after liftoff, with Ship firing 3 of its 6 engines to hover over the ocean before tipping over and exploding. That was amazing, Tice said. We were not intending to recover any of the Starship, so that was the best ending that we could have hoped for. Elon Musk also agreed, apparently. The big step towards making life multiplanetary was made today, he wrote on X, formerly Twitter, after the landing. SpaceX is developing Starship to help humanity settle the Moon and Mars, among other exploration feats. The vehicle is designed to be fully and rapidly reusable, as evidence of the Super Heavy Launch Mount landing plan, which will slash the time needed between flights. This characteristic, combined with Starship's unprecedented power, could revolutionize spaceflight, according to company and Musk. NASA is a believer in the vehicle, selecting it to be the first crewed lander for its Artemis program of moon exploration. If all goes to plan, Starship will land NASA and astronauts on Earth's nearest neighbour for the first time on Artemis 3 mission, which is targeted to launch in September 2026. SpaceX aims to get Starship up and running in a time to meet such deadlines via its usual developmental strategy. Tweaking the vehicle and testing those tweaks on test flights, then repeating the process. Indeed, the Flight 5 Starship featured some significant modifications compared to its predecessors. One of the key upgrades on Starship ahead of flight was a complete rework of the heat shield, with SpaceX technicians spending more than 12,000 hours replacing the entire thermal protection system with a newer generation tile and a backup ablative layer and additional protections between the flap structures. And SpaceX wrote in the Flight 5 mission description. Starship's previous 4 test flights occurred in April and November of 2023 and March and June this year. The rocket has performed better on each successive flight. The debut mission lasted just 4 minutes. For example, SpaceX ordered a detonation high in the Texas sky after Spaceship's 2 stages failed to separate. But Flight 4, which launched on June 6, was a complete success. Ship reached orbital velocity and both it and Super Heavy survived their return to Earth, landing in the designated splashdown zones, and Starship took another leap today. If it were up to SpaceX, Flight 5 likely would have been in the books 2 months ago. And the company said that the Starship was ready to go with a technical standpoint in early August. Launches require approval from the US Federation Aviation Administration, or the FAA. However, the agency needed more time before greenlighting this one. Indeed, last month the FAA said that it didn't expect approval of Flight 5 to come before late November. And here we are, just watching this booster stage being caught by the tower. It's just like clockwork. You could not ever imagine that they could control a booster stage like that, for the whole stage to significantly slow down enough to be caught between these arms on the tower. It is just outstanding. SpaceX's current license authorizing the ship Flight 4 launch also allows for multiple flights of the same vehicle configuration and mission profile. SpaceX chose to modify both of its proposed Starship Flight 5 launch, which triggered a more in-depth review, official agencies wrote. In addition, SpaceX submitted new information in the mid-August detailing how the environmental impact of Flight 5 will cover a large area than previously reviewed. SpaceX was not happy with the news. On September 10, the company published a blog posted titled "Starships Are Meant to Fly," which claimed that the FAA had previously given SpaceX a mid-September estimate for Flight 5's approval. The document also expressed frustration with the FAA's pace and process and with launch industry regulations in general. So the Flight 5 delay was not based on a new safety concern, but instead driven by superfluous environmental analysis, SpaceX wrote in the post. We find ourselves delayed for unreasonable and for other reasons. The company added, unfortunately, we continue to be stuck in a reality where it takes longer to do the government paperwork to license a rocket launch than it does to design and build the actual hardware, the company added. And it goes on to say that this should never happen and directly threatens America's position as the leader in space. Finally, in the end, the late November estimate for Flight 5 proved pessimistic, and it's safe to assume that SpaceX wants to launch another spaceship mission relatively soon. Last month, SpaceX conducted a static fire, a common pre-launch test in which a rocket's engines are fired while it remains anchored to the ground. So anyway, SpaceX is definitely moving forward with a lot of this stuff, and I think they've ticked many boxes this week, and had this particular return of the booster section so successfully in the arms of the tower is again a very, very stunning piece of engineering. So good on them, congratulations, and absolutely amazing stuff. And as you can see in the video there, I mean, there it is. It's just sitting there, cooling down, and you just couldn't imagine how that really worked so successfully. I'll just see if I can fast forward this, because I'm sure there's some other footage here. I'm just going to skip through this quickly and see if there's anything else that would be interesting to grab a hold of. We'll see. This is the upper stage, the actual Starship itself in flight, and I'm just skipping past this quickly. Yeah, I think this video is just following the rest of the progress of the Starship before it lands in the Indian Ocean. As you can see, it's coming into re-entry. It's amazing footage. They can actually capture these beautiful high-resolution images of re-entry, where you can actually see the plasma from the friction caused by the upper atmosphere on the rocket. It's just beautiful footage. It really is beautiful footage. Just skipping through things here quickly. Yeah, all right. And of course, there's the team, all very happy. So there it is. Good on you, SpaceX. You've done well. Anyway, you're tuned to VK3EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night broadcast. Now, just going on to, because I'm aiming to finish early tonight, ladies and gents, because like I say, I've got to start work at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to just try and finish up with a few quick articles here. And this one here is courtesy of astronomy.com. It's an Ask Astro article, and it's basically, will my telescope show colour when viewing deep sky objects? And I think this is a common thinking, because we're so almost desensitized with the magnificent images coming back from the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope and other fantastic telescopes that look at deep sky objects, and you think, look at all that colour. Why can't we see that through a normal telescope? Well, there's a good reason for it. Most distant galaxies and nebulae won't appear colourful in a telescope, but some double stars and planetary nebulae will, apparently. So the question is, how much colour should I be able to see in sky objects through a 10-inch telescope? ? And the quick answer to that is, unfortunately, when you actually, there's another picture here. I'll just bring up this picture that's associated with this article. Not that one. Sorry, it's not. That's this one. So unfortunately, when you look at distant galaxies and nebula, you won't see much color through your telescope. That's because you're viewing objects that are too faint to trigger your eye's color receptors. And this is the same reason why on Earth we see lots of color in the daytime, but not much at night. However, two classes of celestial objects, double stars and planetary nebula, break this rule. The reason is their sizes. Stars are point sources, and planetaries typically measure less than 1 minute across. As a comparison, the full moon spans 31 minutes. So, although these objects are not all that bright, their light is concentrated in a small area. In astronomical terms, their surface brightness are high. And there's a table just below here in this article that gives you a list of some objects that actually do give off a colour. Most of these, unfortunately, are in the Northern Hemisphere objects, but there's about 10 objects that they give here in this article. They refer to it as a colour test. 5 double stars and 5 planetary nebula in which you should see colour. And like I say, a lot of these are northern sky objects. But just quickly going through these objects, you'd see colour in the range of blue to gold, yellow to red, yellow to blue again, white and blue, green, blue, blue-green, and more blue in some of these objects. Objects like the Little Gem, or NGC 6818, the Blue Flash, NGC 6905, the Saturn Nebula, NGC 7009, the Blue Snowball, NGC 7662, and Cleopatra's Eye, NGC 1535. And there's a bunch of other ones there too. But yeah, these are pretty much northern hemisphere objects. But there are some objects that will produce colour in a reasonably large telescope. But in most cases, a lot of objects don't particularly our eyes just not sensitive enough to be able to detect any colour that's prevalent. And that's why, when you do astrophotography, you've got a chance to be able to pick up this colour because of the long exposures to capture that very, very faint light. Okay, this is VK3EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria. And that picture on the screen too, I forgot to mention, is in fact the Blue Snowball. Never heard of it before, to be honest, but it is called the Blue Snowball, NGC 7662. And is one planetary nebula in which you should be able to see colour through a 10-inch telescope. So there it is. Now I've lost the signal from the repeater. Now that could be me at my end. I don't know whether I'm still into the repeater there or not, but I can see the signal from the repeater has disappeared. It could be my receiver playing up. I'll just turn on the handheld there. Any feedback that might come through. All right. Just check my Discord. And I think Discord is working. Yep, that's still there. And I think the YouTube should be okay. Looks like it is. Good. All right. Next on the list. Yeah, all right. And there's a picture associated with this article, so I'll just quickly go across to that. This is called Most Meteorites Come from Just 3 Sources. Our planet's surface is littered with debris from the skies, and researchers have found that most come from only a few asteroid families, apparently. A pair of papers published today in Nature look at the origins of many meteorites that have fallen to Earth. By examining the detailed makeup of the rocks, and ascertaining the time that has passed since they broke off larger bodies and comparing these to asteroids in space, researchers found evidence that a great majority of the meteorites that have fallen to Earth may have come from just 3 sources. And they are referred to as the Masali, the Charon, Karin, and Kronos 2 families of asteroids. Kronos 2 families of asteroids. So, around 70% of meteors on Earth are classified as either H or L chronoids, or H chronoids, which are generally iron heavy, while L chondrites, and I'm not pronouncing that properly, are rich in the mineral overling and have significantly less elemental iron. The authors of the papers looked to the main belt for the asteroids, matching the elemental composition of H and L using spectroscopy, which breaks light into its constituent wavelengths to look for patterns that correspond to certain elements. They also had to look for objects at the right perches in the main belt to transport debris to Earth. They found that the right chemical abundance for L chondrites in 20 Masali, an asteroid with roughly a 140 kilometre diameter, and its family of nearby asteroids, which all have essentially the same composition. And this shows that the smaller asteroids likely came from Masali, created in an ancient collision 470 million years ago that splintered the original Masali asteroid. But it also indicates that some of the fragments may have come to Earth in a steady stream of bolides raining down for basically as long as vertebrates have been around. The majority of the H chondrites, on the other hand, came from more recent asteroid collisions in the Charon and Kronos 2 families, as well as another more recent Masali impact. And these events happened around 5.8 million to 7.6 million and 40 million years ago, and represented the formation of a lot of H-class and similar meteors that fall to our planet today. Asteroids orbit in the main belt, a region between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. So how did pieces of them get here, you might ask? Those collisional families are very efficient at producing small fragments that are easily transported in our solar system through non-gravitational forces, like what we call the Yarkowski effect, for instance. And they can be delivered to Earth, says Michael Marcet of the European Southern Observatory, and an author on both studies. The Yarkowski effect is a phenomenon caused by photons pushing on an object in space, acting almost like a mini rocket boost. It's enough to send an object from the main belt into the inner solar system, where it could potentially encounter Earth. Furthermore, the Masali and its children have a resonant orbit with Earth. For every 3 orbits around the Sun the Earth completes, Masali completes 1, and these resonant orbits provide a way for debris to come to Earth in a steady cadence. The L chondrites represent about 37% of falls at the moment. So the genesis of the study, according to Marcet, came from a number of L chondrite meteorites that fell in what is now a limestone quarry in Sweden 466 million years ago. That led the team to look for a common progenitor of these objects and other meteors of the same class. The fossil meteorites that were found in the quarry in Sweden are the same meteorites that are falling today on our planet, Marcet says, with the second strike on Marcella 40 million years ago kicking up more debris. So once one collision happens, the meteor families cascade from there. For instance, Marsali's initial impact would have created a number of large objects. With time, those objects struck each other to create a medium-sized rocks and so on until some of the debris is as small and as mere grains of sand. There are other sources of meteorites on Earth, to be certain. For instance, around 6% come from either the Moon, Mars, or the asteroid 4 Vista, a strange and tantalizing large object in the main belt that was visited by NASA's Dawn mission. These two studies lay the groundwork for understanding the event that has brought so many space rocks down to our planet, including ones we still see in the night sky. But more data will be needed both to reconstruct the event and to better understand the transport mechanism that brought the debris to Earth. Still, these are fascinating feats of planetary forensics that help piece together the history of our planet and the wider solar system. That was a bit of a difficult article to read, I think. But that picture you're seeing on the screen there, if you are seeing it, is the meteorites appear to rain down from the sky during the Geminid meteor shower of the year 2020. Geminid meteor shower of 2020, that picture is there. Looks like I've lost the repeater. I'm not 100% sure, but I can't see the output of the repeater. There's something's gone wrong. All right, so let's try and finish up here. Yes, okay, we'll finish up on this one. NASA has just launched another probe to search for alien life on Jupiter's ocean moon. And there's a photograph here of that launch going off. And NASA is serious about searching for alien life even within our own solar system. On Monday, aboard a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket, the agency launched a spacecraft toward Europa, a moon of Jupiter. Scientists believe Europa contains a vast saltwater ocean deep beneath its icy crust, with twice as much water as Earth. It perhaps the most promising place in our solar system for active extraterrestrial life. And there's a picture of Europa here. The NASA mission called Europa Clipper aims to figure out whether the Jupiter moon and its oceans could support life. It's the largest interplanetary spacecraft NASA has ever built. The probe is about 16 feet tall, and when its vast wings of solar arrays are deployed, it'll be 100 feet wide. It weighs 3.5 tons. How about that? 100 feet wide. Clipper is undertaking the first targeted exploration of an ocean world beyond our planet. Even if there is no life on Europa, this mission is crucial in the search for alien life, since ocean worlds across the galaxy are prime candidates for life. Missions like Europa Clipper are modern cathedrals and generational quests, said Laurie Leshin, the director of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which built the spacecraft. He says, we scientists have been dreaming about a mission like Europa Clipper for more than 20 years. We've been working to build it for 10 years, he added, or she added, in briefing about the mission in September. It's going to be another 10 years because Jupiter is so far away until we have all the science in the bag. The spacecraft must travel 1.8 billion miles to get to Jupiter, getting a boost from Mars' gravity along the way. It's scheduled to arrive in April 2030. And there's another picture of this imagined spacecraft around Europa. That's roughly what it looks like. The Clipper is not actually going to look for life itself, but it's going to characterize the habitability of Europa Gina Di Baracchio, the acting director of NASA's Planetary Science Division, said in a briefing, "The mission is designed to orbit Jupiter and fly past Europa 49 times, each time soaring over a different area to eventually cover almost the entire Moon, pole to pole. The spacecraft will skim as close as 16 miles above Europa's surface. The mission plan is a marvel of engineering. Rather than a 3-body problem, falling into orbit around Jupiter is a 7-body problem because of the planet's large moons," Jordan Evans, the mission's project manager, said. During each flyby, Clipper will bathe in radiation from Jupiter that's equivalent to a few million chest X-rays, he said. It might even find out if Europa's ice really glows in the dark from that radiation, as NASA research had previously indicated. So that is something to hang around for. April 2030. I'll be hitting 70 years of age, so I'm looking forward to that one to occur. All right, I'll head to spaceweather.com now. Pardon me. I might do a little bit of promotion for astrophys.com first. Brendan O'Brien, who runs the astrophys.com website and does all these magnificent interviews, has just released Astropod 202, episode 202, and it is an interview with Dr. Genevieve Schroeder, and I think I've got a little bit there of the description of this. Meet Dr. Genevieve Schroeder, a fabulous astrophysicist who does exciting research into GRBs, gamma ray bursts. A gamma ray burst is the undisputed brightest ever radiation coming from the most extreme events in the universe. Specifically, Genevieve hunts down and understands how gamma ray bursts are generated by the most cataclysmic events in our solar system, or universe, I should say. So that's now available to listen to, episode 202 of astrophys.com's podcast website, and looking forward to having a listen to that. Thanks, Brendan, for doing that. It's excellent stuff. All right, spaceweather.com. Let's look at the latest sun image here. If you could look at the sun right now, that is the latest image of the sun with all those sunspots happening. The solar wind is currently at 365.6 kilometers a second at a density of 6.88 protons per cubic centimeter. The current disk of the sun, as you can see, is got quite a number of sunspots on it. The current sunspot number is 146. The radio sun, measured at a wavelength of 10.7 centimeters, is 174 solar flux units. And the planetary index, the K index, is currently 1.33, considered quiet. The 24-hour max is up to as far as 3.33, which is also considered quiet. Also, this is the latest image of our aurora over the Antarctica. Not much to write home about. It's very quiet at the moment. There's not much solar flare activity that's exciting the poles of our planet. I mean, there is a little bit of auroral activity. There's always is some sort of aurora activity going on over the pole, but clearly not enough to be seen to the mainland tonight. And continuing on about that. Let's see. Solar Max is underway. In a joint statement on October 15, NASA and NOAA announced that Solar Maxima is underway. If you saw last week's geomagnetic storm, you may have already reached the same conclusion. Good news, solar max is not a narrow moment in time. It is a lengthy phase of solar activity that can last for 2 or 3 years. So there are definitely more aurora outbursts are likely to happen in 24 and 2025. And this image, also courtesy of astronomy.com, which is this one here, is of the comet, the current comet in our skies. Comet Tashinshan Atlas versus Starlink in this photograph, in this time-elapse image. In 29, when SpaceX began launching Starlink satellites, astronomers were worried about a sprawling mega constellation in Earth orbit might interfere with observations of the night sky. 5 years and more than 7,000 Starlink satellites later, here is the situation. And you can see it in this time-lapse image here. You can see the comet disappearing towards the horizon there, but all those crisscrossing that you see in the image are the satellites, apparently. This is what you're seeing is a time-lapse of Comet Tashinshan, I think that's how you pronounce it, Atlas, as it sets in the west just after sunset on October 14, says photographer Kevin of Texas. He says, I was surprised by the number of Starlink satellites that could be seen glinting in the sun just to the right of the comet. The crosshatch of trails are all satellites as the sun glints off them, and the longer trails are aircraft. So, it's a bit of a battle. If you want to do optical astronomy, you've got to really pick the time of night, because predominantly, when you see a satellite going overhead, it's being illuminated by the sun. Once the satellite goes into the Earth's shadow, then it becomes practically invisible. So when it comes to doing photography of the night sky, you've really got to pick your time for that to have any success. As of the 18th of October, there are 2,349 potentially hazardous asteroids, but none of them are on a collision course with Earth at this present point in time. Thank goodness for that. Okay, so having all done that, as we come up to 11 o'clock, I tried to cut it down, but I probably didn't need to read that Meteor article. It was a bit tedious, that article. Where's my camera? I'm trying to find my camera. There it is. All right. Okay, ladies and gents, thank you very much for listening tonight. And I'll do a very quick callback now on 80 metres and see if anybody is wishing to call in. And then I'll be heading off to bed. Yes. All right. So, this is VK3 EKH listening on 3541.
VK3 TJ. VK3 SPX. VK5 Kilo Tango. That's 2 worlds.
Okay, VK3TJS, VK3SPX, and VK5KKT. Anyone else? All right. Across to you there, Jack. Good signal from you. VK3TJS, VK3CSE, VK3EKH.
VK3EKH, VK3TJS. Thanks a lot, Craig. That was an interesting broadcast. I joined in a little bit late, but I was listening at to the very end, and it was quite good copy. Fairly over here in Shepparton. A bit of crackle, but not much. Just getting that noise there for sure. And hope you have a good weekend, and I'll try to do it myself as well. I will catch up with you next time. Over.
Yeah, no worries, Jack. Good on you, mate. Thanks for calling in anyway. Appreciate that. Not a problem at all. You're about 10 to 15 over 9 here. Quite a lot of lightning static I can hear in the background, but you're getting through that without a problem. No worries, Jack. Have a nice weekend and a good week, and we'll listen out for you next week. Steve, VK3SPX, good evening. VK3EKH.
VK3EKH is a VK3SPX. G'day,
Clint. Yeah, so a pretty good condition tonight compared to last night, which was horrendous on this band. But anyway, yeah, so it's a good stuff there. So SpaceX done a wonderful job, haven't they? I don't have a lot of respect for their CEO, but technically I've done a little bit of stuff. I know enough about control system theory just to appreciate just a little bit how that was done, but just how awesomely incredible it was. That video where you saw the booster and the rest of it after they separated, and you could see the two different speeds and altitudes. And I was watching one go up and one go down, and the booster's still doing about 1,000 kilometres per hour, 2 kilometres above the ground. It must be still at an incredible rate. Yeah, it's just kind of free fall for a whole, few minutes too, just to get it back down again.
Yeah.
Amazing effort. So very impressive. Yeah, and when you get your telescope organised in your cameras, you'll see the colour there, Clint. You just need that long exposure, as you see, and the colour all comes out. While I was doing that too, just at the end there, I just had a quick chat over the chat room with Brett, VK2CBD, and I was just having a look at his QRZ page. He's got some amazing stuff on his QRZ page. There's some stuff he's doing, so you want to have a look at that if you haven't already. And g'day, Brett, if you're still listening. All right, thanks, Clint. Back to you, VK3EKH, VK3SPX.
Yeah, I will, actually. I don't know why I haven't done that. Maybe I have already. I can't remember. I'll definitely check out Brett's QRZ.com page for sure. And not a problem at all. So excellent stuff indeed. Yeah, I'm just playing that footage right now. That separation that's going on just at this point in time. So even the footage here, the steady camera that's required to be able to just look up at this object with such ease is just it's just amazing stuff indeed. So it really is just amazing footage. The way they've got this. I mean, the first time they had success at actually landing these booster rockets on their little feet. I mean, the first ones they landed and they just tipped over and bang, exploded. But very, very soon they managed to get these stages actually landing back on their little feet and without any problems at all. But this particular one where this thing's just falling at great velocity, as you say, it's just falling. It's really, really fast, and this little rocket engine that fires to deaccelerate this damn thing, and it just looks like it's floating on a wire. The way they bring this thing in, it really is just amazing stuff. So certainly tip my hat off to these people. Really, really good stuff. There we are. All right. Thanks, Steve. And yes, I can't wait to get the telescope up and running. It's getting closer to it. But I actually had an email from Diego from Sidereal Trading asking me what's going on with the dome, Clint, and so I took a picture of how it's all set up at the moment. The dome's still sitting on the. It's been 1 year. It's now been 1 year since that dome arrived, and it's still sitting on the pallet that came off the truck on, and that's the picture I took of the dome still sitting there, and the deck in the background waiting to be completed. So I said, sorry, Diego, it's just a work in progress. I've just got to try and get to it. So they're just waiting for a call from me to let them know that, yes, come and build the dome. So we're getting there. Thanks, Steve. Across to you there, Ian, VK5KKT. This is VK3EKH.
Just will you copy okay, please, break?
Yep, not a problem.
Roger, Roger, here, about 10 to 15 over 9 here. About even past the static crashes, but I'm getting you 100%. Thank you very much for the broadcast. I did watch it on YouTube for some of the time, and listening on 8 metres here. Yes, the landing of that booster, caught by the chopsticks of the power, absolutely blew my mind away when I was watching that. I thought, you've got to be kidding. That was just unbelievable. So I lift my lid to the scientists and technicians that designed that system. They have really got it down to a T, haven't they? Something that you just think was totally impossible, but there you go. So there's hope for their space exploration yet, I think. Anyway, we'll wait with bated breath as to what more wonders they bring to us. It's just amazing. All right, thanks very much, Pete. Shocking night with the static. We had a very vivid lightning display up here at 2 Wells last night. And I did not even come down to the shack and turn anything on. It would have been hopeless. But tonight's not too bad. Thanks, Pete. You've done a good job as usual. VK3EKH and the group. VK5KKT at 2 Wells.
Thanks, Ian. VK5KKT, VK3EKH replying. Very good, Ian. Yeah, and I agree. The success of this particular landing, and of course now the thing is, can they repeat it? It's got to be repeatable. They've got to have, I would say, at least 3 minimum of 3 successful captures like that without any hitches. But clearly they need to have a swag of successes of this stage landing and being caught all the time without any disasters. So, but then again, it's the funny thing about SpaceX and Leon, they get quite carried away when something doesn't land properly or something explodes. They launch themselves into an absolutely historic joy when something goes up. I don't know. Anyway, they're all having fun, I suppose. They're all very, very learned people, and obviously they're all involved with the success so far. So, good on Mr. Musk with this success. But that's about as far as it goes. Anyway, all right. Thanks, Ian. Is there any other stations wishing to quickly call in? VK3EKH listening. Okay, that's it then. I'm off to bed. 6 o'clock start. Oh, too early for me. Anyway, thanks everybody. For those that have been watching on the chat room, let me just have a quick look at the chat room. We have Steve, we have Brett, we have Steve again, and Brett and Steve. Okay, so all right, no worries at all. And any more emails? Let me just check for emails. No other emails. It's a very quiet night all around. Maybe the band noise has been a bit high for some. I can definitely hear the lightning activity in the background. So yeah. All right, this is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night broadcast that starts at 10 o'clock on 3541 and on YouTube and Discord. And usually through the Melbourne television repeater, but it looks like the repeater's fallen over. I'm not sure, but anyway, we'll see you all next week. Listen out for our WIA broadcast on Sunday morning. We do the WIA cast on 160 metres, 1825 kilohertz at 9 o'clock from here, and then again on the Melbourne television repeater at 10:30 in the morning with the video adaptation of the broadcast. And if, like I say, if Tamitha Scove has released a solar report, I will include that with the broadcast generally either before or after. It depends on how that goes. This is the thing I decided to do it just on the whim. Anyway, all right. Cheers, everyone. Take care. Have a nice weekend. Stay warm, and we'll see you all next week. This is VK3EKH ASV Radio, concluding on 3541. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, Clint. See you next week. VK3SVX. Clear.
No problem.
Quick question for you, Clint.
Yeah.
There's VK5KKT. You are no longer doing the 160-metre relay of this broadcast, is that correct, David?
Yeah, not at the moment, Ian. I need to work out another antenna. I've got three 160-metre antennas, and the one that I prefer to use is actually tuned down on 1825. So I prefer to try and do a simulcast on 1865 because it's at night time. So I'm definitely on it's definitely planning to come back and doing the broadcast on 160, a simulcast on 160 in the near future. I'll let you all know when that's happening. But one of the antennas that I'm hoping to use, it's a dipole, and one side of the dipole's fallen down. All I got to do is wind the tower down and fix the dipole, and I'll be back up on 160 with the dipole, which would work a little bit better for interstate stuff, I think. So yeah, we're working on it, Ian. We'll let you know when it's happening.
Yeah, no worries, mate. All right, no problem. Just curious. Catch you down the coax, VK5KT. Cheers.
No worries, Ian. Cheers, mate. All right, we're out of here. And I'll finish off with this footage again. Amazing stuff. All right.
It's going to happen in 3 phases. We're going to land at 13 engines, burn off all of that velocity. Oh, we can see it coming down through the plume.
Booster coming in hot for booster catch.
We're going to ignite 13 of those Raptor engines, and this view is incredible right now. You can see how fast this vehicle is moving on the left-hand screen.
Landing burn has
13
been
engines.
ignited. We're now down to 3 Raptor engines. We can see those chopsticks now in the air.
Booster landing burn shutdown.
Megavilla has popped the booster.
This is absolutely insane. On the first ever attempt, we have successfully caught the Super Heavy booster back at the launch tower.
What an incredible view!
Are you kidding me?
Dan,
Wow.
I don't know about you, but we're losing our stuff up
Start
here.
turbo bed.
Guys, I'm sorry. Like, even in this day and age, what we just saw, that looked like magic.
That
Oh,
was-
wow.
Dan,
Wow.
your view must have been insane. We are still going wild over here over this.
Folks, this is a day for the engineering history books. This is a live view of the Super Heavy booster as it has just been successfully caught back at the very same launch tower that it just came from. Dan, I love this. You are reflecting exactly what everybody else here in Hawthorne, except maybe a little bit more because you got to see it with your own eyes.
How was that?
Ship
We
engine
got
cut
it.
off.
Well, I mean, like, I can't even describe that. Oh, by the way, main engine cut off, ship's in orbit, but I am like shaking right now. That was.
Yeah, this is not,
Yeah,
I mean,
let's check in on ship.
It's hard to believe that.
Starship nominal orbit insertion.
All right, exciting news there. It's hard to believe that, booster isn't the only excitement that we have today. Just confirmation there. A gorgeous view of planet Earth behind the ship.
Saved.
And it is now in the orbit that we expected it to. This is just an incredible day. Live views there as the booster vents some pressures there. That is a live view from the top of the tower looking at the chopsticks.
I am still in disbelief. I'm trying to catch my tears just like the chopsticks caught the booster. It has been nonstop since liftoff. And we are all so excited about everything that's been happening so far this morning. With the booster having completed its job for today, we are going to take a short break for the next 30 minutes. We'll return back at T plus 40 minutes while the ship continues to coast before re-entry.
Oh, man. And as with previous flights, Starlink may actually enable us to talk with the ship through re-entry with no communication blackout. We, of course, are still testing Starlink during this phase of flight, so nothing is certain. But if we do have views, we'll be sure to bring those to you live.
Views or no views, we'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes for coverage of Starship's re-entry, flip maneuver, landing burn, and splashdown.
For the thermal protection there, and we learned not just from visuals and stuff like that. We had those missing tile tests on flight 4 where we intentionally left some out, kept in some backup layers. They're called ablatives, which means they just gradually melt away to help dissipate the heat, and we've got an entire layer of ablative underneath the tiles on this Starship today. So even if you get a gap in a tile or a tile is broken, anything like that, we've got essentially backup options. And what we're really trying to do today is do an on-target landing, as we lost the flaps, you lose a lot of your control, and so we didn't land right on target last flight. This time we're trying to really nail the target within just tens of meters, and that'll just be a really huge step on feeling like we're closer to bringing a ship back. Obviously, there's a lot of work before we get there, but we just caught a booster. We're going to start looking real soon at when we can catch a ship.
So the view on your left is as a helicopter passes by Dan, bound at Starbase. The view on your left is a camera that's positioned near the nose of the ship, looking basically down toward the flap. The view on the right is looking perpendicular to the flap. So we're looking basically bird's eye view onto the flap on the left-hand side, and then a worm's eye view from the side with that view on the right.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Maverick just buzzed the tower. He might be coming back, so.
Now, these views brought to us by Starlink. It's incredible that we have this high-definition capability. In fact, that view on the left...
Starship is now halfway through the peak heating phase of entry, remains on a good trajectory.
So great news there, hearing that we're about halfway through the peak heating phase. Like I said earlier, this lasts roughly 10-ish minutes. And we did hear earlier that the flaps have control of the vehicle, so also good news there. You know, it is incredible that we've basically had views the entire time.
Right, yeah. Thanks to Starlink.
My memory did black out a little bit after booster catch, so I think we had views. But, you know, all through the coast phase, we had some beautiful views of planet Earth behind the ship as it was in its orbit.
Yeah, and I also do want to point out on your right-hand screen, we've got a more encompassed view of the flap. As we watched in Flight 4, the hinge area was the area where we got a little bit of that burn through. This view, this new camera view on the ship, will help us be able to visually see more of what's happening in that area. And again, we have improved our heating tiles, and so hopefully we've protected the hinge a lot better this time.
Landing chill has started.
But again, these views are additional to the data that we get on these flight tests that help enable us kind of put the data that we get in the computer to the visuals that we see and try and align those and use that for improvements in the future.
Now, we heard a call out there saying that engine chill has begun. This is an indication that we are starting to flow a little bit of the super cold liquid oxygen through the hardware, through the Raptor engine, specifically the turbo pumps, to help ensure that the hardware is at the right temperature before we give a full push, a full flow of propellant at engine startup. So all of that to say, we are getting closer to the landing burn.
We definitely are. And again, if you look at the bottom right hand of your screen, you can see the altitude that the ship is, and it has been slowly making its way closer and closer to Earth. We're currently at about 63 kilometers from planet Earth, and you'll see that number trend lower and lower as we get closer and continue through this reentry.
Yeah, this is going to go on for a little, actually a while longer. We have about 10 minutes or so, roughly, before we execute the landing, the ignition for the landing burn, starting with the landing flip. So we're making a controlled reentry. This is one of the primary objectives for Starship today, is to demonstrate another controlled reentry, even more controlled than what we saw on Flight 4. And so far, that is looking good.
And then as we start to really get lower, we're going to start seeing the atmosphere's effects start to take place, and that's when we'll be dropping our speed down closer to the speed of sound. You'll see the flaps start to maneuver. We were able to do a landing burn on Flight 4, which kind of caught all of us off guard. It was pretty incredible after seeing the flaps survive through. And we're going to try and do another one on this flight today. We tweaked it a little bit So we're going to try and splash down at a little bit of a gentler angle this time instead of just kind of hit the water and fall over. And the goal with that is try and keep the ship intact. And then if we're able to then get some additional video of it, again, that's just more data. And everything we can see, everything we can get extra, like a couple extra seconds or minutes of data coming from the ship after
Starship has
splashdown.
passed through the peak heating phase of flight, approaching maximum entry dynamic pressure.
All right, we're through peak heating. Coming up is basically max Q part 2, where we're going to hit kind of that part of the curve where we're still moving really fast and the atmosphere is just dense enough that we're feeling the most pressure, but hopefully we're going to start feeling a little bit less heat now.
Looks like we got more views of each of the flaps on the ship as it's making its way back down to Earth. And we did pass through peak heating and still got really good views throughout that whole period. Typically during the highest heat on the vehicle, we tend to build up a lot of plasma, and that's typically when we would lose, connection or views of the vehicle. But again, with Starlink, we were able to get some live views throughout that entire process there.
And we're coming up, we'll start hearing a couple more milestones in about 4 minutes or so when we start getting down to like the transonic, the subsonic, when we're starting to move closer to and beneath the speed of sound. And I mean, we're getting live views, we're getting live data. We've got a couple additional tests on this one today where we left off some missing tiles again to test some additional backup layers. We also have, I don't know if we can still quite see them in this view, but you may have noticed we had some kind of silvery looking tiles on Starship as well. And those were pretty much standard tiles, but they were wrapped in aluminum. And it was a pretty simplistic, straightforward one where aluminum starts to melt at roughly the same temperature where steel starts to lose its strength, not necessarily melt. And so if we see stuff melting, we know what our steel is going to be exposed to. But yeah, 59 minutes since launch, should be coming up on transonic and everything just about 3 minutes.
Now the views here, we have coverage of all 4 flaps. We can see, so for those that perhaps didn't catch a glimpse of the vehicle before liftoff, there are 2 flaps at the forward end and 2 flaps at the aft end. The larger camera view that is there on the right-hand side of your screen, that is a view of one of the aft end or the bottom end flaps. We can start to see some heat buildup and peeking through on one of the flaps there in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Once again, Starship now at T+1 hour and 9 seconds into its flight today, re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Currently about 45 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, now 44. We are targeting a soft splashdown in the Indian Ocean, about, northwest-ish of Australia. And we are attempting to, as we did on Flight 4, perform a flip maneuver as well as
Starship is at maximum entry dynamic pressure, remains on a good trajectory.
All right, so that is great news there. Like Dan said earlier, this is basically max Q part 2. So this is the greatest amount of aerodynamic loads that the vehicle will experience during its flight. It's coming back through the Earth's atmosphere. It was above the Earth's atmosphere in space where there was no friction. We can obviously see heat as evidence of that friction buildup. The atmosphere is actually helping to slow the vehicle down. If you're watching the telemetry in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you can see that speed decelerating rapidly. Now, the 4 flaps on the ship help steer the vehicle, and one of the main objectives for the ship today is to demonstrate controlled re-entry during this phase of flight, this re-entry phase.
Yeah, and we have 6 engines on ship, but we only need 3 of them, the 3 sea-level engines. We will have that flip maneuver happen very close to touching down for splashdown. We'll do that flip maneuver, ignite those engines, slow the vehicle down immediately, and then hopefully have what we call a soft splashdown in the water. It's probably going to feel a little bit harder on the top of the surface of the water, but it'll look pretty gentle.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, we hope to have some more views, even of that phase of the flight. So fingers crossed that we can we can bring those to you. We are hoping to splash down softer than we did last time on Flight 4. Right now, Starship continuing to make its descent back to planet Earth.
Starship is at Mach 2, remains on a good trajectory.
All right, great news there. That tells us that the vehicle is traveling twice the speed of sound. So we will then, the next call out that we'll hear is that it is, traveling about the speed of sound. And then we will hear a call out that that will be the call out that it is transonic. And then we will hear another call out saying that it is subsonic, meaning going slower than the speed of sound.
Starship is transonic.
There it is. So at this point in time, we say transonic because certain parts of the vehicle, like the flap that you see on your screen, might be experiencing airflow faster than the speed of sound, while other parts of the ship may be experiencing airflow.
Starship is in the subsonic belly flop.
All right, so now the entire vehicle is traveling slower than the speed of sound, so subsonic. The crowd here at Mission Control Hawthorne also getting excited, just like us. We're awaiting a water landing. We are going to reignite the 3 engines to perform that flip maneuver, and we're basically about a minute and a half, away from the landing flip.
Yeah, the crowd's getting excited here as we get closer and closer to splashdown. Again, just about a minute away from the expected splashdown, so we should see a lot happening coming up here shortly. We're currently having a view of one of the flaps, and it is a little bit dark on your screen, but hopefully we'll get some good views of the ship as it makes that flip maneuver and touchdown for splashdown.
Yeah,
yeah, guys, we saw that speed drop like a rock. So we're doing a belly flip right now, or a belly flop right now. That's what's kind of, if you saw the high altitude campaign, that's the unique thing about how Starship comes back. So we've bled off pretty much all of the speed we're going to. We're essentially at terminal velocity.
Starship is at 5 kilometers altitude, remains on target.
5 to go, coming up soon, landing burn.
Two kilometers away.
Starship is on target. Approaching landing burn startup.
So keep an eye on the bottom right-hand side of your screen as well. That will be the indicator when the Raptor engines ignite, if we are unable to see that illumination ourselves.
Landing burn startup.
What a cool view of the reflection of that landing burn.
You can see the water just behind the ship.
Starship has landed.
An incredible view. I think it is safe to say we have a ship in the water.
Touchdown!
That is a live view from the ocean surface. What an incredible end to Starship's journey. A live view from a buoy that we had out at the landing zone.
An incredible view of ship landing just about on target as they were calling out.
That was amazing. And we were not intending to recover any of the ship's hardware, so that was the best ending that we could have hoped for.
Man, I don't think we're going to be able to get a ton of extra video of the heat shield, but we hit the target. We hit the target. Yeah. I mean, we hit the target because we had these buoys placed in a pretty specific spot, so wow. What a day. I feel like that's what I get to say. What a day. I mean, everything started off today with that launch. We were able to lift off towards the end of our window, 7:25 a.m. Central Time. 33 out of 33 Raptors in the way uphill. Successful hot stage. Booster came back. We watched it come down right behind us. Watched it get caught. And that broke my brain for a while. I'm really happy we had coast for a bit, but that's first ever booster catch, major step on the way to rapid reusability. And ship just gave us one heck of a show, making it through a controlled re-entry this time, flaps intact, made it down to the water. Hey, starships were meant to fly, and it sure as hell flew today. So let's get ready for the next one. Over to you guys.